of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for Tamar Ryan, with liberty and justice for Eric Garner, with liberty and justice for every black person walking on this earth.
The 1950s to the 1960s were an interesting time for people of color. Racism, segregation, and prejudice was blatant and at its prime. The result of this injustice led to the Civil Rights Movement. It was encompassed by several social movements in the U.S. whose goals were to end racial segregation and discrimination against black Americans, and to secure legal recognition and federal protection of the citizens' rights. Well-known figures of this movement include Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, and of course Martin Luther King Jr., a public figure who in fact gave his I Have a Dream speech on this campus, Oakwood University, in 1962.
This will be the day when all of God's children be able to sing with new meaning, My country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire.
My first interaction with Dr. King was on March 19th, 1962. We had been in the midst of our civil rights movement since January 2nd of that same year. And so in one of our strategy meetings, somebody said, we need to bring in a dynamic speaker to try to give this movement a shot in the arm. So we called Atlanta. Dr. King agreed to come and speak on March 19th. 1962. Then we thought we'd have a problem with security. So somebody suggested, why don't we call Oakwood and see if they will allow Dr. King to come there, and said, you know, they already have their own security. And Oakwood had excellent security, just as they do now, you know. And so we decided we would have him speak at Oakwood. And so we went to the airport to pick Dr. King up that morning. It was about 18 or 20 of us, and we were in about 10 or 12 cars. And I had a brand new convertible Cadillac with the top down. Dr. King got off the plane and said, which car you want to ride in? He said, I want to ride in that.
The first Selma March took place on March 7, 1965. An estimated 525 to 600 civil rights marchers headed east out of Selma on U.S. Highway 80. The protest went according to plan until the marchers crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge and out of Selma, where they found a wall of state troopers and county posse waiting for them on the other side. Commanding Officer John Cloud told the demonstrators to disband at once and go home. Reverend Williams tried to speak to the officer, but Mr. Cloud curtly informed him there was nothing to discuss. Seconds later, the troopers began shoving the demonstrators. Many were knocked to the ground and beaten with nightsticks. Troopers fired tear gas at the protesters while the mounted troopers charged the crowd on horseback. King asked them to remain in Selma for another march once the injunction was lifted. The third Selma March took place on Sunday, March 21, 1965. Close to 8,000 people assembled at Brown Chapel to commence the trek to Montgomery. Most of the participants were black, but some were white and some were Asian and Latino. Spiritual leaders of multiple races, religions, and creeds marched abreast with Dr. King.
And my last interaction with Dr. King was in 1965 on the Selma to Montgomery March. He had wanted some doctors to come and march with the people in case there were some injuries or some illnesses or what have you. such as people having diabetic reactions, reactions to insulin, getting stung by a bee, or somebody fainting or whatever, or sprained ankles and that sort of thing. And I had my doctor's bag with me, and I was short, and there was about 30,000 people there, and I thought, well, they may not know that I'm here to give them care. So I thought, what can I do? I had a pith helmet, a white pith helmet. I looked in my bag, and I had some white adhesive tape, and I made a cross on that helmet, and then I took some methylate and painted the cross red. And then I said, well, now they can recognize that I'm here to give them medical assistance if they need it. And that was my last time that I saw him.
One might think that marches are a thing of the past, and that we as persons of color no longer have to resort to these types of protests in order to demand equality and end injustice. This, my friends, is a naive thought, because if there is anything that current events have taught us, it is that history is repeating itself. Police brutality, mainly directed towards the persons of color, is running rampant all across America. Recent events such as Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, and Michael Brown have sparked marches all across the nation. All of these tragic events are about unarmed black males being shot down by police officers who never seem to get indicted. These past events have made black Americans feel like they are back in the 50s and the 60s, which is causing much outrage.
It was heartbreaking, to know that people are just out here being killed and just being left out there in the streets, mothers not being able to see their children. I mean, who wants that?
I don't know. It just felt like every week or every couple of days, it was just like another black guy getting gunned down for no reason.
I know for some mother, some brother now lost a sibling or a best friend or a son. And I'm just like, what if that was my mom? What if that was my brother?
When I think of these situations, I often think of lower class African Americans who are marginalized from even the centralized class of black people. In many ways are marginalized continuously through our language, our rhetoric, our diction towards them, and through media. So it's a whole other battle that's being fought here.
Today's youth have risen to the cause and are speaking out against injustices all across America, following in the example their ancestors left before them 50 years ago.
Initially, I thought there would be about 50 people. I was thinking about, 50 of us just walking up the street. But it just got bigger and bigger. And I remember the day of, I was like, this is going to be a lot of people I'm leading. This is going to be big, way bigger than I had anticipated. And I guess it was just the spirit moving.
And I thought it was going to be just Oakwood students. But it was Oakwood students, A&M students, UAH students, people from the community. And there were actually a good amount of white people there, actually. And I was really surprised because they were really down for the cause.
I feel like the moment it became real for me was when we had the first die-in. And when they told us to lay down, it had been raining a little bit out there. At that moment, something happened. I was so, ashamed almost that I was upset about laying on the ground because it was something, I don't know if I had flashbacks of movies that I've seen, but I saw my ancestors go above and beyond and never said no. They were getting sprayed with hoses, and I'm upset because a little rainwater and a street, it was powerful.
Marching is the prelude. It's the beginning. It's the kind of the fight song throughout the whole. It's the anthem, and it's not going to solve a problem, but it is needed to help solve the problem.
Me protesting, me being a part of this movement is not about me per se. I'm doing it because I see injustice going on around me.
Power is never surrendered. You have to fight to gain power.